Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. So, my dumbass, last night I did a stream, and my other program was muted on my end. And so you guys couldn't hear me last night during my stream. I apologize about that. While I'm having a conversation with Az and Bunny. So I apologize about that. Second, I want to give a shout out to Sayin, Harold, all those guys. Everybody who stops in, talks to me. Much love. By the way, guys, please go check out Sayin Gaming if you're looking at tank builds currently. He's come out with, I've seen 3 of his tank builds recently. Really good shit, man. Especially if you're a newer player and let's say you're even debating about class, what tank class to roll with. Sayin's going to have, something that you're going to be pique your interest, and I think that's going to help you determine a decision if you're new to tanking in Elder Scrolls. So by the way, go check him out, man, because these tank builds are really good, and especially for newer tanks coming into ESO. So I just definitely want to, I've enjoyed the builds that much that I'm definitely going to promote it just straight up and just say, yo, man, go check these out, especially if you're tossed up, because I feel like every build has something unique and it, benefits the strength of the class in that role. So go check them out, man. So, got the dailies, Unhollowgraved, Wayrest, and Arcs. So, let's do this. Okay. An Unhollowgrave. Now, I really been enjoying this build. Initially I had Huntings on it, which was amazing. And for target practice dummy, it was beyond exceptional and for what I wanted, because I didn't put a sharpen or use the lever. I didn't need to with this class. I even made a meme kind of yesterday about it, because I ended up going on a 4-man, and I was testing it, and I was a little shy of where I wanted to be. Because there's no passive that scales the weapon damage in accordance like Sork or Stamplar. Hence why, and I used this race, Wood Elf, because I like Wood Elf sustain right now during this update. I like that little penetrating value. It's not much, but it adds up. It definitely added up in this build, but I still needed a set with the penetrating value, but I couldn't have sacrificed the crit. So I went with Tiscavans. So Tiscavans definitely gives me the critical value, plus it gives me that pen. That was crucial for me. That was the crucial element. Because of that, I sacrificed a smidge on my weapon damage. But overall, my critical values were hitting exceptionally well. Now, we still stacked the modifier into the bar, and some people would honestly think, you want to take advantage of these critical passives on the hit, but for the rotation, if you can configure it different, by all means, but for the configuration, I'm still learning stam, timing, especially with each class. I'm very overwhelmed. And, I was able to get around 50, with a sloppy end rotation. And I was like, God, man, it's a whole different ball game in timing. So, but because of the what I'm typically accustomed to, I put together this configuration. Now I'm using the scythe. If people wanted to go with the Venomous Skull hits harder on single target. I'm not even gonna lie about that. For real, it does. But I like the scythe because it kind of goes with the theme, and the AoE damage is good, and the self-sustain is good. It's great. It's great for that. It really is. For a spammable, but it's a flex spot. So, if you wanted to go with Skull and hit a little bit more on the single target damage, definitely, well worth it. But yeah, so it really, plus you'll get that little bit of crit, passive into the Venomous Skull. But everything else, I'm very pleased with. We went with that Discavans. We went the Vicious Ophidian with the Kina. I mean, the Vicious Ophidian Kina, False God Kina combo as base sets is just phenomenal on a lot of configurations. And the fact that, I get this nice penetrating value, God, man, it's so good. Hold on. So when I do this and I come back in, I'm at 46. That to me is invaluable. 46 without putting into one other than the set that gives me one stat in the race. That is amazing. Even without the drop off, I have a physical pen of 3-1. And you're very dependent on pots. So I chewed up a lot of pots. I'm going to have to do a lot of harvesting, and I'm behind on my crafting writs. But because I've been playing a lot of Stam lately to try to get these rotations a little bit more smoother and everything else. While we're waiting, I guess I could just do this really quick and show you how high up we can get. I can get up to about a 72 critical value, and that's without waiting kill. So that to me was the most important thing to hit up to a certain high level. And it also made me debate about my daggers on my DK, with maybe sacrificing a little bit of that critical value to get that extra 12% on axes. That might make me put me back into the maelstrom just to grab up the axes. I might have to do that, for sure. But I'm just going to... it didn't fire. I'm just doing this to get the crit values up. Once I get that glow, okay. 72. Even. That's with the savagery. So we got a 72 critical value, and to me that is probably one of the most important aspects to the build, right? That build up, right? I've always said I could probably have had to afford to go with maybe 2 infuse versus the divine because I'm using the thief. That would put me at a 70. That would give me a little bit more base damage. I don't like to really go over 70% due to diminishing factor. I could push up a little bit more on the base factor. And I didn't. I was trying to hit a 7, keep around a 70 mark. That was the goal, to hit about over an 8K into the weapon damage, fully procced up. And so we hit that goal. And sometimes I'm a little, meticulous about my stats and my configurations, and the sustain on this is ridiculous. If you go orc, you can really push out a little bit more due to the scale factor. Khajiit, the 12% modifier on a build like this would be nuts, right? I like Wood Elf. I do. I like the sustain. I mean, if you want to go with the critical modifier, I think Khajiit is strong in that essence. You lose a little bit into the Stam scale because of the limitations to the Stam scale, but the 12% modifier would be great. But that would also determine weapon choice. With Orc, I would have to take them all, without trying to overpen. And I might not use the Scavens. I might want to use a set like Leviathan versus. Why? Because those penetrating values I don't want to exceed. I want to scale and appropriately. So like I always said, secondary sets are going to determine more based on race and what you can and can't get away with. Those are factors. Those are always going to be determining factors. Once you hit over a 6.5, the less penetrating value you need. Once you hit up to an 8K, you need very minimal on a raid target. But when you go into a 4-man or a traditional, you see those values diminish quite considerably. So that is factor for everything that I do and everything I set out to do. So, yeah. it's you know, it's just, it's one of those things that you always keep in mind, you know, when you're taking a look at in different values in these, you know, offsets. So, but yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot. I love it. I love the sustain on this, especially with the Fidian, especially with the race selection. Sustain is just, the more mobs I have, the more it shines. The the scale factor, really nice, really nice. You know, there's just so many things that I really like this. So literally, I took the hollow sword, and I made this dude like basically look kind of like my kids and I. My kids are into anime. I did anime, so I watch anime a lot. You know, Japanese, and my kids got into it. And of course, they got into Bleach. I've watched Bleach, and I went with this more bleachy look, like Bleach character look, and though it did feel like it. So I just, because of the hollow sword and the theme, I was like, you know, and the sustain, I was like, you know, this is the hollow, you know. It really went nice. The whole theme went up. It feels good. It feels great. We're slightly under the 20k health. Not much. Not enough to justify glyphing. I mean, because of the health passive to the necro as well. Oh, I need that. Due to the health passive as well, I really didn't feel like justifying glyphing to go slightly over. As long as I'm around 20k, those are the spots that I typically associate. So yeah, no, it feels good. It feels really good. You know, once again, that's kind of what I push for. When I'm making a build, I think of it in this perspective. I'm a new player coming in, right? Or I don't have, you know, a said rotation down. I don't have all these little other factors taken into consideration. But, you know, I'm doing trials and I'm learning new stuff. You know, what gives me flexibility to complete multiple levels of content without resetting up a build after a build after a build after a build. And, you know, that's where I push to, you know, for conceptual reasons. So, like I always say, you know, those are the things that I'm always taking a factor in when I'm configuring. But yeah, no, I love it. I love this build. I love it all the way around. So, once again, really good shit. You know, I don't know how long the queue system's going. I got to go here in a little bit. So, but I definitely got to get footage to get this out. I like to show gameplay. It's important. It always is. I don't like people who come out with a build and they don't play it. That to me is just something you know, I can't condone. I don't like fluffing people with any false sense of what something is. It looks good on this, but then when you get it over here, it falls short. You know, like I said, I don't do that like other people might, you know, do that or give, you know, this perception over here. That's not me. It's just not who I am. Okay? It's just not. It'll never be that way for me. I want to show it in its context. So if I can't do that in then it's always gonna fall. It's not gonna meet my expectations. And my expectations are really high. When anything, if I have to like reset up something, that's what it is. So we're just gonna harvest while we're waiting. My mats are getting very low on a number of things, and I'm talking my golds. I've been golding everything. So, and I had a lot of the Tuscavans, but I didn't have it in ideal trait. And I was like, well, this is a problem. We got to take care of this. And it just so happened that I actually picked up the set because the jewelry on the golden the week prior, because I was going to actually implement it in another configuration, which I plan on doing still. Just because of these changes. So there's one more build that's going to be implementing it to Scavens, but you know, like I said, I don't try to build everything the same. It becomes less impactful in that essence due to the class, the races, so many other factors. And so when I build way different. I always will. So no, I'm not a theory crafter. I know the strengths and weaknesses of the class and what I'm looking at when I'm building. So I love it when people are like, you know, what, theory crafting? No, I do not fucking theory craft. I ain't got time for that shit. If I theory craft, it's saying that this is sounded theory. No, there has to be an absolution. There has to be reasoning to why I build it as such. So no, I'm not a fucking theory crafter. I never will be a fucking theory crafter. That's the most dumbest fucking terminology I've ever heard in my life. Theory crafting. We've been going more stat based too, so there's been a lot of things that I've been adjusting on that level. Wallace, I've been following you for a long time, and one of your recent videos you mentioned something about base value scale, your critical output. Can you break that down for me? Keep up the awesome work. Oh, thanks, Wallace. Yeah, so base value, critical scale. So critical chance doesn't have a diminishing return. You can exceed the value, meaning if you go, before the nerf. So let's hypothetically say that ZOS did not nerf crit chance. You could always exceed over 100% critical chance. Meaning you would always guarantee yourself a crit. But critical scaling, right? Based on the more you set into your critical chance, the more you deter from base value. Meaning your base stats, right, that are associated like stamina or weapon damage. When that happens, you're cutting down your base damage, right? Thus, you're justifying crit chance for less upfront damage, right? So it's a factor. So there's where the diminishing return lies. So when you crit for 100%, your base diminishes. So there's what we call a sweet spot where you want a high crit chance, right? But you want to take into consideration factor, meaning outside influence like savagery, minor savagery applied or something like that. That's why I'm able to get up to a 72, you know, versus, you know, whatever on a dummy. And then all of a sudden, God dang that fucking skeleton. Thank you. I hate when shit's in my way. Good. Anyways. So basically you want a high crit, but if you go too much, you hit like a wet noodle because all you do is crit and you don't actually end up you're dependent on the critical modifiers more than base damage. But if you use a happy medium of both, you optimize better. I don't know. This guy, man, polling is god awful. And
From the side.
I feel like I'm desyncing everywhere. I gotta be sparing on these potions too. But anyways, yeah, so the whole thing, the more you stack into crit, the more you increase critical chance, you diminish critical output, because base damage will scale a critical value percentage-wise, meaning your output. Basically, the higher your base value is to a degree. What the fuck? Oh, we forgot one. Okay, you got to come back down here. Anyways, so for the most part, your base value has a crit. You know, the more your base, the higher your base, that it does affect your critical output too. It's a factor. So, and that's always been a fundamental. And you know, I don't know why people ignored that, these principles. I don't know, but it is. Why is the CC? Oh, I don't know, man.
Go away! You'll ruin everything!
Sir, what's going on?
Wait! Master Pellingham!
You'll not leave here alive.
I hate this boss. Dude, just, yeah, do something. Pick up the pay. What the hell are y'all doing? What the fuck, man?
Found that beast. Let's get moving. Looks like someone opened the door ahead.
Right now!
Like, really? I hit that. Be fucking sinking, man. Goss. I swear to God, get your shit together. 7 years later. What the fuck? Why am I not surprised? I should be.
bastard.
What the fuck? Fucking ghost, get out of my way. Oh, Still Endeavors. I forgot that's out today. Like I said, I never run out of fucking stam usually with this build. The sustain's just too good. Wow, thanks, man. You're actually pulling shit. I don't want to get blasted, though. Yep. Oh, fuck. Whatever. Oh. Okay. Just put the thing somewhere. You know, if this is a DK, you'd think you'd have the talons just to lock them in. What? Lost. I had like over 100 desync yesterday when I was practicing. It's fucking ridiculous. I can only blame my ISP so much. Fucked up. Look at.
Let's get this over
I swear to
with.
God.
I'll talk to them, make them understand. Maybe I'll get through this time. Aline! Varane! It's your
Yeah, we know.
father. I love you, and I want to talk to you. It's all right.
Hey, asshole, you don't fucking pull until they fucking come out. What the fuck? They have to say forgive me.
Forgive me.
You fucked up. I bet you they fucked up. No. Ugh.
Don't you get tired of me constantly outdoing you?
What the fuck? Give me the fuck. This. Oh, we got it. What the shit? My like shit's firing like weird. What's the happy medium if the same for Stam and Magicka if you're referring to PvE, but that has to apply for PvP. PvP never falls under the same rule set. PvP, I never go crit. I've never, ever have built like intentionally critical in PvP. Never. Because every PvP game is the same. Any game that has PvP has always been the same since the beginning of time. Always. They always have a resistance towards crit. Now recently, it was actually admirable because Fang Rush actually put out a new build for PvP for a healer, and he was talking about impen, just getting rid of reinforce the big pieces and then these stats. And I've said that I came back. A lot of people didn't do their homework. They had Nirnhone for over a fucking year, and they didn't fucking do their homework. They were putting reinforce on lighter pieces. I'm like, well, you guys, are wasting. Impen's junk. But like a lot of times they go with a critical resistance, right? So Zos's whole thing about getting people killed, was to lower the impen and not realize, oh shit, if you, it comes back to that same rule set. If you if you increase the resistance to base, you're basically cutting their crit damage anyways. Essentially. And I never built crit. Never. Why? Because, it's kind of like pointless. Even when I used impen, I didn't go any more than 2 pieces of impen. Why? It's just, I go base damage. I always have. I just feel like a lot of times people don't understand that basic principle, that fundamental. And if they don't understand that, then that's a problem within itself. So a lot of times when people were preaching impen and stuff, it's because they don't understand numbers at all. All they know is a lot of people will do critical damage. Critical damage does more. Thus, you want to go ahead and reduce that. Well, you can reduce that by increasing your resistance, and hence why the heavy armor meta was so prevalent, because of the survivability. Right? So it was just come down to this whole thing like, oh well, that's a lot of armor to pierce through, and then you get, because most people anticipate getting debuffed, rightfully so, because it's gonna fucking happen. Once that happens, I can get rid of that. Once you get debuffed, you can anticipate, you can get debuffed up to like 10k, right? So to stack beyond 30, you can. I had a tank at one time almost 50k resistance. Everybody's like, that's too much. Why? Because I'm gonna get debuffed. I had a build that ended up getting like nerfed the fucking back, but You know, I had about 50k resistance, and people were like, "That's way too much. Why is that too much?" That's not too much. That is way too not too much. The simple fact of it is, I'm going to get debuffed by people. If that happens, I'm toast. You know, it's just, you know. So I'm taking that into consideration. I'm taking into consideration that I'm going to get a debuff, and you know, I'm not gonna get, you know, caught like that. This is not gonna happen. And I like it when people come in here and talk about whatever, but my MMR rating is the highest that you can get. I play with all the big boys on every platform, so it's like, you know, I never claim to be the best, but I play against the best, and that makes it hard on me, especially when I'm trying to learn, you know, a new build or a new class because my MMR, and I'm like, fuck, you know. I only get a couple chances to get this right, because if I don't, I'm going to die over and over and over again. And you die a lot in Battlegrounds anyways. Battleground deaths is just, you know, it's inevitable. Unless, you know, you're very seasoned at that class. But when you're trying something new, you know, you don't have a lot of, you know, times to make, you know, to make mistakes. You just don't. So you have to adjust fast. You just really do. So... you know, especially when, like, from time to time I get Fang Rush in my friggin' group, and it annihilates me time and time again. I'm like, oh god, here we go. He's gonna just rip me apart. He does, absolutely. So I'm like, oh shit. And then when I was on PS, you got people like Dove and, you know, King and those guys, and yeah, they're purple. They're really good. They're really good. So you know, when it comes down to PV, when you take a look at statting, Mag can't get the same value as Stam to critical value. It can't. Not with the current armor system, the way everything is set up. It just can't. It can't achieve the same goal. It can't. And because of that factor, and because of scale factor, Mag's at a disadvantage. You know, this update. They're across the spectrum, both PvE and PvP. People want to say, oh, Mag's been... No. You guys don't get it. You don't get it. In every perspective, in every sense of the word, in every way possible, Stam beats Mag. That's a fact. Because Mag's scale system is towards Magicka. And there's a 10.5 ratio conversion to spell to weapon damage. Well, given the fact that Stam's modifiers are scaled towards weapon damage more profusely, and Magtunes are scaled more towards max Magicka, and we have a 10:0.5 conversion ratio, and the proc system has been set equivalent, who's at the disadvantage? Who's at the disadvantage? You see what I'm saying? And the same thing with the critical values and how the sets, you know, are determined. You know, without an excessive diminishing value, Stam can afford to go at a higher rate due to scale factor. And that's the one thing, like, I think the meta players, a lot of them, once again, I have to do, like, all this stuff time and time again because they're just at a disadvantage when it comes to those fundamentals. I'm not saying their builds suck or they're not skilled or they're not talented. They lack fundamentals. They lack that key element to understand that, you know, when we're taking a look at, you know, what adds up, Mag comes short every time. And everybody's like, oh, well, you know, Stam can't get the pen. It doesn't matter. Force damage. You know, I'm the one, and people are coming in trying to argue with me when I'm the one educating them about penetration. Now, I always knew that factor, but why should I always have to give up my trump cards? I shouldn't have to. If they were so good, they should have done the math. Had they done the math and followed the math, they would have came to the same conclusion. But they didn't because they didn't know where to look. That's not my fault. That is not my fault. So now, for me to reveal that, it's like, okay, well, you have to understand, they don't need, after 8K weapon damage, they need little to no additional penetrating value because they'll never achieve tooltip. Right? After that, it's whatever. You can go onto your metrics, and that's relevant. It's apparent. It reflects even into the metrics, because the metrics would even verify that as far as the pen value in the scale system. But once again, all they know how to do is read it. They don't know how to input it. They don't know what they're looking for when they're inputting, and that's why I can't, once again recommend that, I let people want to believe what they want to believe. But when it comes to mass stupidity and BIS and whatever, they've always fell short. They've always fall short of understanding scale factor. They always have, always. And that's a fact. And people are like, oh, they know. No, they don't. I mean, when you have one of the top content creators calling Kenra's BIS, then that's relevant. That's a testament within itself of, not being properly educated even after 7 years of playing the game. Talented, yes. Will achieve his goals, yes. Educated, no. I forgot to kill. And I don't mean to cut on them. I'm not trying to initially cut on them. It's just, like I've said, mass stupidity is a real thing. And that's why I tell my viewers, to tell you guys, do the research for yourself. What I show you shouldn't be the absolution, nor should anybody. Take everything with a grain of salt, but still look at what's going on, test it, go against it, question it, always. Those are things that, will keep your mind active and keep you pushing to try to achieve more. And that's the way it should be. I don't want people to believe me in every essence. I don't want that. I don't want people to think like my word is law, because there's been times I got caught, like the pen on Bleed. I honestly thought that Bleed still ignored pen, but recently somebody told me different. I was like, whoa, really? For real? And I didn't even question it. I didn't challenge his whatever, because I've been gone 2 years. Saiyans helped me. A lot of players have helped me recently with some of the changes and alterations to how some of the effects have changed. But when it comes to certain fundamentals, right, when it comes to, once again, a scale factor, that has nothing to do with the effects. That's just, fundamentals. It should be that simple. It should be. A lot of things should not be questioned, but, unfortunately, you have to sometimes question it because of the source in which you derive it. So... And then, of course, people hate me. When I did the stream last night, that's what we were talking about. How long, I've known as, where we came from, and, how I walked away, from a lot of things as an MMOer. I just had to. It just got to a point where it didn't matter what you accomplished. All of it was kind of irrelevant in the end. And then I was searching for more of a game that, if I did something, it wasn't just obsolete, like it was in other games. It was like, in this game, it kind of has that fashion, but the problem of it is, because it still adheres to a somewhat of a theme park element. As was talking about cookie cutting, WoW is so cookie cutter that, the repetitiveness, gets, kind of overwhelming. And in this game, we have almost some of the same problems, but ZOS is always trying to re-innovate ways to replay old content. And I think, there are different ways to approach things, but once again, I do not work for them. I am not obligated to assist them in any way. If I give out any suggestions openly, they're free to utilize those suggestions as they see fit. But in other contexts, I don't owe them any form of assistance other than what I'm, my observation or who I bring on the channel and our observations based on new player experience. So I just honestly think that there's a lot of things they need to take into consideration. The game's beautiful. It could be the best. I've always said this, but, a lot of times they fall so short on so many little things because, you know, they're trying to appease their current target. Like, for example, my friend's husband just got the game, and unfortunately there's no easy access to download client, and that's a big ball drop. That's a huge ball drop, right? That's a huge ball drop when you can't even go to the website to download said client. Why? Because once you own the game, it's whatever, right? Because, you know, you don't have to have an active account, and I get ZOS's degree, but here's the thing. You should have a directory to show people where to create an account. Create an account now, download the client link right here. But they don't do that. You know, they fall so short sometimes of even the most common things that most games do. It's like, wow, really? 7 years later, you still have to register. You have to get a separate key, even if you own the game, to get on the forums. That's amazing. It's amazing. Simply amazing. What should I go for as my base critical rating? Also, is there some point where I should consider taking the Shadow over the Thief? The Shadow's dead this update. The Shadow, like I said that before when I read the patch notes. I never go the Shadow anyways. Usually the Shadow is an overrated Mundus most of the time. No, there are times that it does well because of, you know, critical factors and stacking factors. But when it comes to like scale, I've never taken the Shadow serious because I could always scale base, thus increasing that modifier anyways without the need of the Shadow. So I've always tested it, and I'm like, I get a little bit more of the crit, but I lose more on the base, and it averages out so I'll pass. You know, that's why I've always been like that. The Thief is more prominent this update because of the nerf. That's the problem. ZOS has kind of pigeonholed everybody into taking a similar configuration, with the exception that Stam may need one pen source depending on their configuration. But if they scale high enough, that's an irrelevant factor as well. So it's like, okay, so wait a minute. You're going to put everybody in the same base sets, and now you're still going to discourage trial sets. And I think that's the problem we have recently, is like a lot of players want to consider trial endgame, but to what extent? To what extent? You go in a trial to obtain gear you're not going to utilize? That seems counterproductive, in my opinion. And ZOS does it to themselves. So I don't feel bad for them at all. It's like, I don't feel bad that you're fucking yourselves. You know? They instead of appropriately adjusting certain factors, they went down a path that basically forces people into the same setup. Waiting kill, I said, you know, I would never. I'm an old school MMR. I'm very old school. You know, BIS and we talked about that last night. BIS in any other MMO. That's why Elder Scroll players get laughed at by MMO community at a large, because they don't understand terminology. A best in slot is a slot item in which values cannot be replicated by definition. And in this game, they associate sets or traits as BIS. And it's like, no, that's not a BIS. Now, these mythic items, and I said the waiting kill in its everything would be considered by tradition a BIS item. Why? Because the values cannot be replicated. So for ZOS to nerf a critical value only to come out with an item that people are dependent on to gain said critical value rating at a detriment of mechanic is kind of cheesy and kind of underhanded. It's once again lack of, content to get people to chase the carrots. That's what it is. It's kind of sad. And I think sooner or later the frustration is going to mount. I'm not saying the power creep shouldn't have been addressed. The CP allocation shouldn't have been whatever. I'm not saying any of those factors. What I'm trying to say is ZeniMax, once again, doesn't let the content speak for itself. And it's worthy. The content within itself is worthy. The problem of it is how to keep the current player base, appeased and chasing. So what do? They come out with a gimmick. We're nerfing your crit, but wait, since we nerfed your crit, we're going to give you a mythic item that's going to allow you to get more critical value. But if you get hit, shame, Then they came out with a tank set that some content creators were actually, that was a bait and switch, like the hell and back, that new. Like I said, if I was a hardcore trial player and I saw these sets besides that healing set, I would have been livid. I would have been livid as fuck. I'm like, wait a minute. You're going to try to bait us into using a set to scale our DPS down. Wow. What the fuck? That to me, because everybody sees it, we could give 100% crit uptime at the cost of your base damage. And you can already do that without that set. You can already accomplish that feat. And if I was looking at a critical rating value, I would have to say, ideally, I always stay around 55 to 60, depending. But I never exceed. I try not to exceed over 70. This build currently goes over 70. But I never try to go over a 70 value. Oh, shit. I never try to. That's old school me, so. Once again, and then, it is what it is, but, there are values that are just, more prominent in how those factors are weighed. So. But. Ah, shit. Get me off. Thanks. I swear to God. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I was going 2 years. I never thought I'd come back. Nor did I think I'd come back to like all of this. And I was like, what the again? But now everybody's like, well, every class can play every role. And every role in that class can complete content. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you guys finally conceded that part. But you guys are now still at it with the fucking dumb shit. God. It never gets old. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's like, I've said that multiple times. If you keep throwing every class in the same configuration, you fail. You fail. You'll always say this. You'll always say that. You'll always. Because you can't, nobody takes into consideration the way the game's initially designed. The thing about it is ZeniMax has tools we don't have. They have, simulators. Anytime sets come out, they can simulate an entire class, its abilities, its bars, its rotations, its sets, in less time than somebody could actually parse the set in the configuration themselves. So when any content creator, comes out with any configuration, it's not that ZeniMax didn't know it. Yeah, once in a while it might slip, but they kind of like, we'll let that one slide. It's marginal. We'll address it later. But they have simulators. They're already aware of what these classes can do in the spectrum. Right? But that's the selling point. It isn't every MMO, right? It's the selling point. To give people the illusion that they can come up with something that the devs aren't aware of. That's bullshit. I would know. Trust me. That is total bullshit. I'm like, you guys are high. The devs already know. You're barking up the wrong tree. Right? They're already aware of it. They knew before you did. You guys are trying to tell the devs something that their software already told them. Brilliant. Morning, Harold. How you doing today, brother? I hope you have a good day. Sorry I was muted last night, so you didn't get to hear me. I was trying to talk to you guys. I didn't realize my program was muted. I was like, oh, fuck. Shit. So, once again, though, like I said, I'm a different type of player. I build a different type of way. I do things in a different type of way. And that's what I do. I mean, well, whatever. You know? Once again, I don't take trials hardcore. If I do them, I do them. If I get my gear, I get my gear. If I want to, I do it. My end game's always been PvP. I said that. I've said that multiple times. Why? Because in a game like this, once you've acquired it, where do you go from there? Once you've acquired whatever you set out to do, what's the point? Pretty much I got tired of fluff a long time ago. I don't even think I got Rift downloaded, but I can get in Rift and show you all the little fluffy stuff I still have. Oh, it's so much fluffy stuff. You know, oh, look at this, flawless this, and raid mounts, and this, and that. And it's like, what the fuck's the point? It's nothing. That's why I got tired. I'm just like, I'm fed up. You know, at the end of the day, guess what I still ended up doing? Even as a raid tank. I PvP'd. You know? World of Warcraft, I raided. I still PvP'd in the end. Why? I had a lot of downtime. Alright? Just the way it went. Once you do it, you know, you're just like, you're sitting there with your hands underneath your ass. Because you had weekly lockouts, right? Oh, man, I need this shit bad, yo. On too. Nice. But, yeah. And in this game, it's more open-ended. So you even have more of a, you know, problem when you're taking a look at what the fuck do you do when you acquire the gear. Matter of fact, here becomes a better question. Why are you going to do the trial when there is no gear other than the accomplishment or whatever? That's what I'm trying to say. ZeniMax needs to reevaluate that. I like the fact that, you know, they did finally incentivize the perfected gear for that difference, even though it killed me as a content creator, because one of the biggest factors is why I never used trial sets, because I was aware that fucking bonus was shit. That Minor Slayer bonus was bullshit. That 5th piece proc ep bonus, bullshit. That's why I never used it. You look back at my videos, a lot of them during when people were running trial sets, I didn't. I just never did because I was aware of static value. And the problem of it was now they came out perfected. I'm like, well, shit, you can't get around that value now, and you couldn't. It was significant, right? It was, and you know, but now you have them coming out with trial sets that are like anti-counter. It's counterproductive. You know, in the essence of DPS or you know, like tank sets. Let's talk about tank sets. Other than, you know, Yokelin, what tank set do people utilize from trials? None. You know, they're there, but it's never been justified to utilize them. Why? Because the mitigation was never warranted. That's just the facts. It's just the facts. So, once again, ZOS tries to have fundamental ideas that goes, you know, unappreciated. No worries, other than the money pit. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Content's always going to be good in this game. It's always going to be good. The question, always the question, when is Zoss going to learn to come out with things that are more... I've always said get rid of the procs, man.
Dare touch me, vampire.
I don't know if I've been in here with this
But
dude.
my Onsi's bright blade, I will take you with me.
Might have a quest.
Please, just listen. I'm not allied with those grave robbers. If you keep this up, those wounds will reopen.
It will reopen. Yeah, I already have. We'll see how this goes. What the fuck, yo? Just... Tanks quit using CCs these days. Whatever happened to talons? Choking talons or something, man.
You lost?
No.
No. I wager you're just where you want to be. Fine. I've been itching for a script.
God dang, Sauce.
Guess it's time to call in some muscle.
No! Don't. Come on, man. How many? I'm stamped out. I'm dead. Thank you. Mighty white of you. It's PUG. That's pug mentality. Shit. Just hold him still. You're a tank, for God's sakes.
Well done, Wayfarer. Look there on the door. The Pyre Watch sigil. This Draugr King must have used Tuwaka's gaze to unlock it.
Oy vey.
How far down does this room go, Shalaria? Surely they found enough bones up here to build
No Pyre Watch sentinel has ventured this far into the tomb since our ancestors.
You might want to turn him. Tanking 101. In any game you're ever going to play, turn your targets. I don't care what class tank you... I don't care what MMO you play. I don't care. Right? You turn your target. What the fuck?
Ding, help us. The door is sealed.
Just...
And without Tuwaka's gaze...
the shit.
Wait,
Really,
sure.
honestly. Whatever.
on the floor. More sigils.
I got sigil.
Perhaps they correspond
Just
to the one.
whatever.
Maybe right, Vampire. Look around. We must keep up the pursuit.
Just... Should I say anything? Okay. That's better. What?
Another sealed door, but no stand.
I still haven't done like the secret boss in here. Somebody told me there's a secret boss. I'm like, shit. I really got to figure out how to do that now.
They wouldn't be in this
I wasn't aware.
if you weren't lagging behind when the door resealed itself.
Wake up, damn you! Wake up!
I don't know the mechanics. Whoa. How did I know it was a beginning take? It takes like, I don't know the mechanics. That's fine. Bring him on! Nice. I was like, what the hell?
It's just... Never mind. Shalaria managed to capture the Draugr kid.
Where is Tuwaka's gate? Where is your leader?
Kiana Tombskull took your magic lantern with him. Farther into the cave. You can catch him like that. Not before he...
Before he what? What's he doing here? Speak!
You have no idea what's happening.
What the fuck? Why do I got aggro on this thing? No, do not move this boss. Oh my God, Bart.
I've explored more tombs than I care to recall, and I've never seen a guardian like this.
Enough with your academics,
This tank bites it on the next boss.
I have no idea such grand ruins stood in the heart of this place.
now kill!
Jesus. I know. I should do a tanking tutorial.
Eyes up, Draugr. It's the competition. Advance!
God dang it! I should just put auto lead on. I wish that you couldn't even loot while you're in combat. You have to wait till after. God. If anybody can't see some of these delays, man, what the? Stop kiting this thing.
You dare disturb me?
think it's pretty self-explanatory. See, I'm doing a good deed today. I think she picks up good. She's still new, you can tell, but she'll be fine. Ugh. That's gonna get somebody killed. Ah! There it is. Oh no, that's bad. No. Poison don't come. How many? You know, I've probably heard one war horn this entire match, this entire thing. Maybe one, maybe. Come on. What? You know, I missed all those. Can't believe that. No, for real? I'm dead. I gotta wait till after the blast. Thank you. Fuck. Die. Oh. Yeah. Well, at least I put arrows. Oh. We're...
Something profoundly evil lurks here.
Whatever it is,
Whatever.
whatever these beasts have conjured here, it will face a lasting death at our hands.
Just... Sweet.
Finally, you've been itching for a good scrap.
Charge!
Scary these fools.
What the fuck? Zoss, man. It went twice. It was... What the fuck is this shit? Oh shit. Turn. Never. Turn. And turn. No. No, no.
I'll kill you for what you've done.
By all means.
No hard mode.
try. Our patron demanded the remains of the Grey Host. What's the harm in adding a few more corpses?
Chaloria, Artavare, sleep now. She's in no condition to fight. Go, kill that fiend.
I'm trying to do this with one hand. Forgot the other key. Yes. Alright. See, I'm being a very good guy today.
There's only death.
Don't.
Bones of the damned.
No! Really? That was just fuck timing. Yeah, dodge roll. What a awesome time, man, to go dodge again, run again. Gotta wait for those to blows. Wait for it. Now.
Unleash your fury! Restless dead.
It's one thing I was afraid of. Trying to get in and out, that can be a very hard thing to do. Good shit. Jesus. Why do I... No. Okay. Just get me in here so I can... If we don't kill... Oh my fucking god!
Soon, all the world shall fall as well.
Fuck! Use your shield to mitigate. Holy fuck. So that's the tank that's fucking kiting him. Stop! Stop! Moving!
I cast the bones, and your future is bleak.
What kind of fucking... Unless you got ads, why are you moving? You're a fucking tank. Unless there's a mechanic that makes you move or something. I'm scared to go in. I keep thinking like, okay, here's this, here's that, and this tank just moves. And I'm like, oh shit, balls. No war horns. I mean, God, fuck.
There's only death.
Oh my God.
My core, bones of the damned.
Fuck me.
I feed you to the pit. Oh, and ash, unleash your fury. Oh, and ash, unleash your fury.
Oh my God. Right when I put it down. Gotta wait. shit.
I'll send you to the pit.
GG.
It's my fight.
A fight you would have lost. I don't expect gratitude, but you're welcome all the same.
Tenorian, I understand why you did what you did. One day I will make my peace with it. In the meantime, I will put the life you saved to good use.
I trust you will, Shalaria. As for me, I have some investigating to do.
Pug life is awesome
Starting
at
with
times,
this mysterious
man.
patron Kjalnar mentioned.
Whoever they are, I suspect they've already gotten what they wanted. The Draugr
I
cast
suggest
great
more
many-
content creators do pugs all the way, every day. It's the life. Where is the tank? I know. Someone's running into Azure Blight. Seems like have to use off-road path to get him off. Right. I wish my cats would give me some space. Yeah. I would say use your Mortal Coil heal. Right. You know, I'm still adjusting to a lot of stand play, to be honest with you. That's some of the things about it is, like, timing for me is way different on Stam. I always build it. I always play, you know, certain things. Like dual wheel blade was pretty good for me for the most part. I mean, wasn't like a big adaptation in certain aspects, but you know, when you have like usually a 5-meter space typically between mag and Stam mechanics, and yeah, it makes a difference, man. It's a world of a difference making those adjustments. Stam hits really hard though, especially now, especially after Blackwood, and I'm really glad to start learning more. You'll always get to certain things that you're gonna get in a pug. Some people know a little bit better. Had I been tanking, I would have just shield up, throw a heal, hit the block. You know what I'm saying? I try to build up mitigation as for a threshold. You know, I try to make it almost a point. And I think, Carol, you would agree. You know, mitigation is just important. Knowing how your shield, your self-heals, your sustains work in mechanics to minimize movement. For a tank, the only time you should have to move is if you have no option. Right? That's the whole thing about tanking. That's tanking 101. The less you have to move, the more consistent DPS is. Why? Because it keeps the boss in the AoEs, right? It keeps DPS, you know, rotation solid. When DPS already has to move, DPS has to adjust for mechanics. Tank should be the least having to make adjustments for mechanics. That's where you depend on mitigation. That's where you depend on your build to sustain you through mechanics. There hasn't been one tank build I ever fucking built where, unless there was something like the one dungeon, there's one dungeon I have to get out of that pool with Dragon Bones. That I have to move as a tank. I have to. Majority of the time, I don't. I don't have to move as a tank. Majority of mechanics as a tank, I do not have to give way. I don't. Majority of the time, I have to turn to keep, you know, that mechanic from firing on my DPS or my healer. But I typically don't have to move from said position. And I think that's a very important understanding in tanking that a lot of people just don't get. You know, don't move. Don't fucking move. Mitigate, block, heal, block. unless you have to for some reason. For some reason, if your build, put it this way, a real tank build will sustain majority of the time. Majority of the time, tanks will sustain. I suggest people go check out the Tank Club. That dude is amazing. He's amazing content creator. Like fundamental sound. It's got all the aspects of every class as tanks. Will give you the heads up on mitigation, shield systems, self heals. Amazing guy. Amazing. I just recently found him, a couple weeks ago. Caught a couple of his videos. I love it. I love his content. I thumb up every video I've seen so far. I love it. I never dislike anybody's video, but I've thumbed it up. Tanks always go to the naughty spot, right? Right. It's a total package, right? I played tanks in multiple MMOs. I'm thinking about maybe going back to main tanking in this game, but the thing about it is, the more you move as a tank, the more problematic it is for your party. And everybody adjusts somewhat, but we've come a long way since those early days when tanks were running with 25k health. Their shields weren't even mitigating like 10,000, not even 6,000 damage. There was a lot of problems with how the tanks were built when I first started coming here. They were built like hybrids. And that was very, very problematic when it came to DLC content. Because they just get blown over and then blame the healer. Right? It's the healer's fault. Dude, you can't mitigate shit. When I met Hop, he came from World of Warcraft. This dude was a tank. He never, he was always the last to fall, in anything. Dude was built. He was built. And I'm telling you guys want some new tank builds? You better be checking out Saiyan Gaming. This dude's got some good tank builds.
Nice
solid stuff. So, and go check out the Tank Club. Those are my two recommendations now. New player builds, Saiyan Gaming, for different aspects of the tanks in their role and their functionality as that. Tank Club. Two content creators that will not lead you astray for tanking. I promise you guys. All right. Once again, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. Have a good one.